What's going on, everyone? My name's Eric, and today on the channel I'm bringing you this little piece of musical history here. This is an Aristides 060. This is one of the very first Aristides 060 models that was ever produced. And you might recognize this guitar because this used to be Mike Stringer's guitar. And if you don't know who Mike Stringer is, he is the guitar player of the band Spiritbox. And Mike pretty well used this guitar on all of the early Spiritbox recordings well before they started tuning down and well before Eternal Blue came out and everything. So this is a very cool guitar for so many different reasons, and I'm very happy to be able to show it for you all today. This guitar came in because it does need a full setup, and I'm going to give it a full setup obviously, and I'm going to go through everything in detail about this guitar because this is a very unique guitar as it's one of the first Aristides 060 models, and this does have a few different features by comparison to the newer and most current Aristides models that you can buy today. So with all that being said, let's get this guitar on the bench and let's bring it back to life. Alright, now let's take a look at the Aristides 060 guitar here, and once again this is one of the first Aristides 060 guitars that was ever produced. This guitar has been around the block a few times. As you can see on the gold hardware here, it is kind of pitting and showing its age here. The fingerboard is actually worn out just a little bit and actually needs a little bit of hydrating. You might think that's a little bit odd because Aristides doesn't use wood on their guitars, but on these earlier Aristides models, especially this 060 here, this is an actual cut of ebony on the fingerboard. The frets have seen some better days from the looks of it, and they might just need a quick polish, but I'm not 100% sure if these specific frets on this guitar are stainless steel or nickel. We got the Floyd Rose here, and again, it has seen some better days. We got some pitting and a little bit of oxidization. So if you are going to be buying a guitar that has gold hardware, just bear that in mind that you need to be on it for cleaning the guitar. Otherwise, it is going to show the wear spots pretty well, as you can see here on the volume knobs and everything like that, and the toggle selector looks a little bit worn. Wear on the pickups is actually normal. That is a factory design from Bare Knuckle Pickups. I think that's the battle worn finish. We're gonna get the Floyd Rose sitting as it should. I'm gonna do a deep dive and a deep clean for that. I have a couple videos on my channel that go over Floyd Rose setup and maintenance tips in great detail. So go ahead and check those out before you start attempting any sort of Floyd Rose setup or maintenance and anything like that. And it might be kind of hard to see on camera here since my camera is having a bit of a hard time focusing, but there is a bit of a bow in the neck here. It's looking like a back bow from the way I can see it. So I'm going to have to give this guitar just a quick truss rod adjustment and we are going to be smooth sailing. So let's get into repairing one of Mike Stringer's original Spiritbox guitars. Alright, so I ran into a bit of a problem while adjusting the Floyd Rose and trying to get the guitar all finished up here for the customer, and unfortunately the anchor screws that go into the body on the Floyd Rose that hold the claw in place and hold the Floyd Rose level and everything are totally stripped out. So there's no real way to adjust the angle of the bridge to make sure it sets flat other than adding springs, and even after doing that it didn't really get it close enough. And honestly, these screws have really served their time. So if you're in a position like this where you actually have to back the screws out of the body in order to actually fully adjust the Floyd Rose and actually make the Floyd Rose usable for the most part, go real slow, apply a lot of pressure with a screwdriver into the screw head as best as you can, even though it is slipping. If you feel it starting to slip, stop what you're doing, back it out, and then just try it again and just go really slow. It's going to take some time, but it's worth it in the long run, and then you're going to have a functioning Floyd Rose by the end of it. And here we have the Aristides 060 all finished up and brought back to life. Once again, this was Mike Stringer of Spiritbox's original 060 that he used to write and record a lot of the very early Spiritbox material with, and I'm honestly pretty privileged to have the opportunity to work on this thing and get it back to playing condition. And yeah, there's just a ton of mojo and a ton of music history involved with this guitar. I honestly remember when Mike got this guitar and when Mike was actually writing the original Spiritbox stuff, and he sent me a couple of the tracks just thinking, hey, what do you think of this? This is the new project I'm kind of working on. And out of nowhere, they just blow up to be the biggest thing in metal, which is amazing. And yeah, we got the Floyd Rose working here. These are just regular Floyd Rose screws here. I asked Pascal, who's like the CEO of Aristides, of what they use, just because Arium is obviously not wood, and the Floyd Rose was invented during a time where pretty well guitars were more or less only made made with wood. So regular Floyd Rose or just regular wood screws here, that is what his team relayed to him and what he relayed to me. So if you are in that issue, you can just use the regular wood screws or Floyd Rose screws that come with any sort of Floyd Rose tremolo. No backplate on here, but I'm sure we could probably figure something out later down the road. Otherwise, yeah, this is a sweet guitar. Really happy to actually spend some time with it and really get to know it and bring it back to life. So with all that being said, why don't we hear this thing in a full demo mix? So now let's learn a little bit more about Aristides guitars in some more detail. For those of you that don't know Aristides guitars, they are based out in the Netherlands, and they are known for having guitars that are not made of wood at all. And by not using wood to make guitars, they have their own proprietary material called Arium, which is essentially this hybrid kind of resin material that is actually very solid and very dense, and it actually sounds really good if you're considering it as a tone wood, for example. This is one of the older models here. This guitar actually has an ebony fingerboard, but I believe in around 2018, 19, even maybe later than that, they switched to Richelite fingerboards, so you cannot get wood-based fingerboards anymore to actually make this guitar way more sustainable, as no wood has been used to actually make the guitar. As you can see here, the body and the neck and the headstock are all one piece of Arium. There's a really cool video on Aristides' YouTube channel that walks through the entire build process of an Aristides guitar. It's a really awesome watch, and really go check it out because it's a very unique way of making guitars, and regardless if you're into guitars or not, it's just really cool seeing how things are made in general. And a couple interesting notes about these Aristides guitars is that they are really sustainable instruments. They don't use wood to be made or anything like that. And the other thing too about these Aristides guitars is that since they are not made of a temperamental material like wood, they're really going to hold up well depending on what climate or what environment you are in, and especially if you are a touring musician going through different cities and different temperatures and climates and everything like that. It seems like these guitars should hold up pretty well because the wood isn't going to change depending on the humidity or the temperature and everything like that. At this point, I haven't toured with an Aristides guitar, but some of my friends that have toured with them have said nothing but stellar reviews about them in terms of their reliability and how well they hold up throughout different climates and different environments as they take those guitars on tour. So now let's go over the specs on this Aristides 060 guitar. Just like every other Aristides guitars that is made, we have an Arium body, neck, and headstock all in one piece like this. We have an original Floyd Rose bridge. It just holds tunes so well. Pretty well my go-to choice for any sort of double locking tremolo system. We got bare knuckle Warpig pickups here, and even though these are bare knuckle's hottest pickups that they manufacture, they do clean up really well and they are pretty versatile, which you are going to hear later on in this video. Very simple electronics layout here. The volume is back here, the tone knob's up here, the tone has been disconnected from the circuit. I do wish this was a push-pull, but that is an easy mod that you can do down the road. As I said earlier, this is one of the very first Aristides 060 models, and this is one of the earlier Aristides models as well. We have the ebony fingerboard and we have the nickel frets here. Those have been now changed to stainless steel frets and Richelite fingerboards to make this guitar last a very long time and make it more environmentally conscious. 25.5-inch scale length up here. We have the headstock design here, Floyd Rose locking nut, and last but not least, we have the Hipshot open gear ratio tuners. They work, they're non-locking, but honestly you don't need locking tuners when you have a locking nut and a locking bridge on a Floyd Rose equipped guitar. I do want to say the upper fret axis on these guitars is pretty fantastic. Obviously this is a one-piece neck and body design here. You don't have a giant bolt on here for a bolt-on neck to obstruct your playing on the higher frets. This is really comfy, it just kind of stays out of your way. The neck shape is really nice. It's not like an Ibanez. I feel like it's more or less like a Jackson neck, like a really thin Jackson neck or an 80s Charvel neck. Now with all that being said, let's hear the Aristides 060 with some isolated guitar tones. And that's going to do it for today's video on the Aristides 060 guitar here. Once again, this is one of the earlier models. This is actually one of the first 060 models that went out into the wild. This one has the ebony fingerboard, the nickel frets, and was also owned by Mike Stringer of Spiritbox. A lot of their earlier material was recorded on this, and there's a ton of mojo and a ton of history with this guitar, as we all know where Spiritbox has then since gone since those early recordings. This is truly an honor and a privilege to work on a guitar that has this much mojo and legacy behind it, and especially being able to get it back in playing condition for the new owner. And as always, this is where I turn it to you. If you learned something new in today's video, maybe around Aristides guitars or different ways to set up or work on your guitar, let me know in the comments below. I love reading all of that and engaging with all of you. And if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel here, consider subscribing. I have tons more guitar repair videos, tons more guitar demos, and all things guitar related on this channel. Thanks for checking this out, and I will see you next time.